everyone.
Merry Christmas! Everywhere Christmas tonight. In some parts of the world, it's already Christmas Eve. Who is going to have a white Christmas this year?
And where might they be having a rare white Christmas? That reminds me of a rare white Christmas I grew up hearing about back in Ireland. Folks would sit around the fire and tell wonderful old stories.
Well, I actually have a favorite story of a rare white Christmas in Ireland from many years ago. It's called The Voyage of the Wee Red Cap.
The Voyage of the Wee Red Cap? I haven't heard that one in years. You never know what the wee folk are going to be up to on such a rare magical night as a white Christmas in Ireland.
Well, I'll tell you a story of a rare white Christmas in Ireland. A story that starts in an Irish cabin as the snow begins to fall. The story of the wee red cap and the journey it sends our main character on starts on Christmas Eve, which is 2 days before the feast of St. Stephen. I tell you about St. Stephen because in some places in the world, his feast day is filled with acts of generosity for the poor, followed by miracles. So on this particular Christmas Eve, old Teague sat alone by his fire, with naught in his cupboard but a pinch of tea and a bare mixture of mean, and a heart inside of him as warm and soft as the ice on the water bucket in the door. 'Twas a cold night, and a rare snow began to fall. The turf fire was nearly burned out on the hearth, only a handful of golden cinders left. Teague took to greedily counting his pieces of gold on his fingers.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Faith, there'll be more bits of real gold here under the house clay in the corner.
'Twas the truth. And it was the scraping and scrooching for the last piece of gold that had left Teague's cupboard bare of a Christmas dinner.
Gold is better than eating and drinking, and if you have naught to give, there'll be naught asked of you.
Teague was thinking of the neighbors and the doles of food and piggins of milk that would pass over their thresholds that night, to the vagabonds and the paupers, and all the poor who were to come begging. And on the heels of that thought came another. Who'd be giving old Barney his dinner? Barney lived a stone's throw from Teague, alone in a tumbled-down cabin. And for a score of years now, Teague had stood on the doorstep every Christmas Eve, and he'd cupped his hands around his mouth and yelled out, "Hey there, Barney! Will you come over for a sup?" And Barney would reach for his crutches, there being only one leg to him, and he'd come on over.
Barney can last for this once. 'Twill be all the same in a month's time.
And Teague fell to thinking of the gold again. A knock came to the door. Teague pulled himself down in his chair where the shadow would cover him, and he held his tongue.
Teague, oh Teague, if you're there, please open your door.
Oh, it's the widow Donnelly. She and her children are always coming for something. I'll not answer and she'll leave.
Teague, I have not got the pay for the spriggin this month, and the children are needing food. They are so full hungry this night. Please, Teague, are you there?
But Teague put the leash on his tongue and never stirred till he heard the tramp of the widow's feet as she went on her way. Then he got up, went over to the door, and set to it that it would be barred tight. He no sooner had sat down again when there was another knock at the door. This time it was the voices of strangers he heard call out.
The other cabins are filled. Not one has room at the hearth for another. Will ye take us in, the two of us? The wind bites mortal sharp, and not a morsel of food have we tasted this day. Master, will ye take us in?
But Teague sat on, a-holding his tongue, until the tramp of strangers' feet finally passed down the road.
Strangers? Oh, let them go away hungry. I'll open the door tonight to no one. No one?
Soon after, Teague heard more feet tromping and more knocking, but still he sat there by the cold hearth, holding his tongue, while poor hungry folk came looking for help. Finally, Teague heard the sound of small feet running.
Teague? Old Teague, it's Cassie, the miller's daughter. Old Barney's watching for ye. You'll not be forgetting him, will ye? Hearken all ye, 'tis the feast of St. Stephen. Mind that you keep it on this holy evening. Open your door and greet ye the stranger, for ye mind that the wee Lord had naught but a manger. Wear a straw. Feed ye the hungry and rest ye the weary. This ye must do for the sake of our Mary. 'Tis well that ye mind ye who sit by the fire, that the Christ child was born in a dark and cold byre. Wear a straw.
Teague put his fingers in his ears to try and block out that sweet voice of Cassie, the miller's daughter, as she ran down the road.
Oh, a million curses on them that won't let me be. Can't a person try to keep what's his without being pestered by them that has been idle and wasted their days while I work?
Teague put down and was about to fall off to sleep when the strange thing happened. Hundreds and hundreds of wee lights began dancing outside the cabin window, making the room as light as day. Next, the hands of the clock that sat above the hearth began chasing themselves around and around the dial. Then Teague heard the sounds of high-pitched voices singing his name.
Oh, Teague, don't be mad. It is Christmas Eve and you should
taunt was done, Teague saw that the bolt on the door drew itself out. Slowly, without so much as a creak or a cringe, the door opened, and in there trooped a crowd of the good people, the good wee folk. Their green cloaks were folded close about them, and each carried a rush candle. Teague was so startled he could hardly draw a breath to speak. And before he could, the little people began singing.
Light a candle for God's Son, and one for man His brother. From earth this night, with food and warmth and color. A candle light in Mary's name, and one for Joseph all. And blessed be all newborn ones, they gathered in God's fold.
At the end of the song, the good little folk looked at Teague and laughed. Teague was filled with great wonderment when he saw and he heard all that was happening.
Hey, who are ye? Where do you come from? How did you get in here? I bolted my door.
Are you not knowing who we are? I'll tell you that we're sometimes known as the wee folk, sometimes as the good people. I'm Sprig. We are taking the loan of your cabin this night, old Teague. Ye are the one hereabouts with an empty hearth.
And we need warming.
God rest ye merry gentlefolk, let nothing you dismay. Remember that the Christ child was born on Christmas Day, to save us from our selfishness and help us on our way. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy, comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
When the song was finished, without saying more, the little people bustled about the room, fixing ready. They lengthened out the table, and they spread and set it. More of the good people trooped in, bringing stools and food and drink. The pipers came last, and they sat themselves around the chimney piece, blowing their chanters and trying the drones. The feasting began, and the pipers played, and never had Teague seen such a sight in his life.
Faith, by my soul, this is amazing. You are strange little folk. What does all this mean?
Are you not knowing 'tis a real white Christmas, Teague? A magical night for wishing and miracles. We are taking you on a journey.
A journey? I want no journey. I want to stay here in my own cabin.
Well, you'll be missing a great time tonight, Teague. It's Christmas Eve all over the world.
Suddenly, Sprig called out,
Clip, clap, clip, clap. I wish I had my wee red cap.
and out of there tumbled the neatest red cap Teague had ever laid his two eyes on. The wee fellow clapped it on his head, crying,
I wish I was in France.
And whisk up the chimney Sprig went. And then one by one the wee folk called for their red caps, and up the chimney they went to France. It happened just the way I'm telling ye. Then with one voice all the other wee folk called out for their caps as well.
Clip, clip, clap, clip, clap. I wish I had my wee red cap.
Whist, one after another, went right up the chimney, and Teague was again alone in his cabin.
Oh, by my soul, I'd like to travel that way myself. It's a grand saving of tickets and baggage. And you get to a place before you've had time to change your mind. Oh, Faith, there's no harm done if I try it. Clip, clap, clip, clap. I wish I had me red cap. Oh, to France.
Then whisked up the chimney Teague went after the little people. And before he had time to let out his breath, he was standing in the middle of a square in a city in southern France. And he found strangeness all around him. The doorways of the houses were hung with flowers, and the air was warm and sweet with the smell of them. Torches burned on the streets. Sweetmeat sellers went about crying their wares, and on the steps of a great cathedral crouched a group of beggars. Teague became aware of beautiful singing floating out from the church into the square.
What bright lights! It's as if it's the day instead of the night. Look at all the food hanging in the marketplace.
And while Teague was walking around, he bumped into someone.
Hi there! Watch where you be going.
No one but we good folk can see you, Teague, as long as you keep your red cap on your head.
Now, I like that, I do. I could have some extra fun with this.
Teague, now don't you be using the red cap for mischief. It's not meant for that. And you will only get in trouble.
Ah! Are ye only always thinking of good? Ah!
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply echo back their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
Oh, I'm saying the music here in France is quite lovely. But good folk, tell me why are those people waiting outside the church? What's the meaning of all of that?
They are waiting for those that are inside the cathedral, attending the Holy Mass. When the Mass is finished, the good people inside will come out and give some of what they have to those that have nothing. So on this night of all the year, there shall be no hunger and no cold. Then there will be more singing and rejoicing in the streets far into the night.
Oh, always those who have given to those who have not. That is the matter with this night.
Hearken all ye, 'tis the feast of Saint Stephen. Mind that you keep it on this holy evening.
Oh, enough! Can a song fly after ye? Let's be off.
At that, Teague heard the wee folk call out.
Clip, clap, I wish I was in Germany.
Whit, they were flying quickly through the air, and Teague followed in a matter of minutes. They were all in a village in Germany. Many children were standing outside in the cool night air, singing carols.
The Christmas tree with its candles gleaming, a glow is kindling in all our hearts. It speaks of God's pure love light streaming. It brings us hope and joy imparts. For every heart you offer blessing, for every parent as well as
children outside here in the cold air? Should not they be indoors?
They are waiting for the mothers to finish with the trimming of their Christmas trees.
Oh, trees inside the houses for Christmas. Ah, who needs that? What kind of foolishness is here?
Teague, don't be such a sour old goat. Enjoy the sweet music and let that cold heart of yours melt a little. There you have it, Teague. The children will be going in and receiving gifts through the Christ Kindle or Kris Kringle. St. Nicholas will go around watching the children's behavior, but never does St. Nicholas get in the way of the Christ Kindler, the Christ child. And the children are to remember that all gifts come through the Christ child, and that the season is not for selfish enjoyment, but to bring joy to others and to remember the less fortunate.
Ah, them two, all about good. Ah.
Open your door and greet ye the stranger, for the young and the wee Lord had not but a manger. Rear is strong.
Oh, not that song again. 'Tis no good at work with it. I'm off to another country.
Let's be off to Spain. Clip, clap, I wish I was in Spain.
And off they were to Spain, where they heard more carols and saw more acts of kindness. And after that, on to Holland. Teague saw wooden shoes outside the doors of houses, as it was the gift night of the year, when everyone gives to the neighbor. They traveled to the other parts of Europe, then to places in the Middle East, where they saw joyful processions of Christians, and on to villages in Africa, where dancing and singing filled the Christmas celebrations. And each time they witnessed some act of mercy and generosity, only to be chased by the song of Cassie, the miller's daughter. Each time he heard the song, Teague would begin to lose his patience and temper, and off they would go to another country. The evening grew late enough that Sprigg thought that they could now find Christmas Eve in the Americas. So off they all clip-clapping their way to Mexico, where in a sweet little village, the Posada was happening. The procession of the pilgrims seeking lodging for Mary and Joseph. At the end of the Posada, the village children cheered and ran to take their places around the piñata. Teague was fascinated at the game, and he got more and more excited as one child after another took a turn at the piñata with blindfold and stick.
Looks like great fun. Yes, I'd like to take a turn with that blindfold and stick. Can I take my cap off for a few minutes?
You keep that cap on your head, Teague. Let's be off before you get in trouble here. Let's go to the United States. Clip, clap, I wish I was in the United States.
Welcome here, all be alive and be of good cheer. Welcome here, all be alive and be of good cheer. Christmas is coming, join us here, while we dance and make good cheer. La 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 la, la 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 la. Welcome here, all be alive and be of good cheer. Welcome here, all be alive and be of good cheer. Come all you people, join and sing song of praise to the newborn King. La 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 la, la 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 la. Welcome here, all be alive and be of good cheer. Welcome here, all be alive and be of good cheer.
And that is how they found themselves at a church service in a small mountain church on the southern Appalachian Mountains. The preacher and the choir director were leading the small congregation in singing.
Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Down in a lowly manger, the humble Christ was born. And God sent us salvation, that blessed Christmas morn. Go tell on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born.
Brothers and sisters, let us remember to close our Christmas service. That's our responsibility to carry the news of Jesus Christ to others. Remember, the Lord Himself has called us.
To go where I send thee, how shall I send thee? I'm gonna send thee one by one. One for the holy baby who was born in Bethlehem. Go where I send thee, how shall I send thee? I'm gonna send thee two by two. Two for Paul and Silas, one for the holy baby who was born in Bethlehem. Go where I send thee, how shall I send thee? I'm gonna send thee three by three. Three for the Hebrew children, two for Paul and Silas, one for the holy baby who was born in Bethlehem. Children, go where I send thee, how shall I send thee? I'm gonna send thee four by four. Four for the four that stood at the door, three for the Hebrew children, two for Paul and Silas, one for the holy baby who was born in Bethlehem. Children, go where I send thee, how shall I send thee? I'm gonna send thee five by five. Five for the gospel preachers, four for the four that stood at the door, three for the Hebrew children, two for Paul and Silas, one for the holy baby who was born in Bethlehem. Children, go where I send thee, how shall you send thee? I'm gonna send thee six by six. Six for the six that never got fixed, five for the gospel preachers, four for the four that stood at the door, three for the Hebrew children, two for Paul and Silas, one for the holy baby who was born in Bethlehem. Children, go where door. 3 for the Hebrew children, 2 for Paul and Silas, 1 for the holy baby who was born in Bethlehem.
Go where I send thee.
How shall you send me?
I'm gonna send thee 8 by 8.
8 for the 8 that stood at the gate, 7 for the 7 that never went to heaven, 6 for the 6 that never got fixed, 5 for the gospel preachers, 4 for the 4 that stood at the door, 3 for the Hebrew children, 2 for Paul and Silas, 1 for the holy baby who was born in Bethlehem.
Go where I send thee.
How shall you send me?
I'm gonna send thee 9 by 9.
9 for the 9 that dressed so fine, 8 for the 8 that stood at the gate, 7 for the 7 that never went to heaven, 6 for the 6 that never got fixed, 5 for the gospel preachers, 4 for the 4 that stood at the door, 3 for the Hebrew children, 2 for Paul and Silas, 1 for the holy baby who was born in Bethlehem.
Go where I send thee.
Shall you send me?
I'm gonna send thee 10 by 10.
10 for the 10 commandments, 9 for the 9 that dress so fine, 8 for the 8 that stood at the gate, 7 for the 7 that never went to heaven, 6 for the 6 that never got fixed, 5 for the gospel preachers, 4 for the 4 that stood at the door, 3 for the Hebrew children, 2 for Paul and Silas, 1 for the holy baby who was born in Bethlehem. Was born in Bethlehem.
Now, no one is to be going out on this cold night without first joining us for Christmas Eve meal. No one shall be going home hungry tonight.
Feed ye the hungry and rest ye the weary. This ye must do for the sake of our Mary.
No, no. They'll be driving me mad with that song, they will. I'm getting weary from it. On with us from this place. I'm about ready for home.
One more stop first, old Teague, to the great hall of the King of England's palace in London.
The London place. Now, what would an old man from Ireland be doing there?
Clip, clap, I wish I was in England.
Ah, to England it is then.
Whist and away they went, and Teague after them. And the first thing he knew, he was in London, and not an arm's length from the king's throne. It was a grander night than he had seen in any other country they had been to that night. The hall was filled entirely with lords and ladies, and the great doors were open for the poor and the homeless to come in and warm themselves by the fire and to feast at the king's table. And many a hungry soul did the king feed with his own hands that night. Those that had anything to give gave it in return. It might be a piece of music played on a harp or a pipe, or it might be a dance or a song. But more often, it was a wish. Just a wish for good luck and safekeeping.
Safekeeping to you, Your Majesty.
Christmas is coming, the goose is getting fat. Please to put a penny in the old man's hat. If you haven't got a penny, a halfpenny will do. If you haven't got a halfpenny, then God bless you. Christmas is coming, the goose is getting fat. Please to put a penny in the old man's hat. If you haven't got a penny, a halfpenny will do. If you haven't got a penny, then God bless you. If you haven't got a half a penny, then God bless you. Pray God bless all those here. A very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Pray God bless. Pray God's here. A very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Christmas and a Happy New Year. Pray God's here. A very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
So taken up with the watching of it, Teague that never heard the wee folk when they wished themselves off once more. Moreover, he never saw the small wee lass that was fed and went laughing away. But he heard a bit of her song as she passed through the palace door. Then the anger had Teague.
Ah, Hal, stop your pestilent tongue once and for all time.
And, catching the cap from his head, he threw it after her. No sooner was the cap gone than every soul in the hall could see him. The next moment, they were about him, catching his coat and crying,
Where is he from? What is he doing here? Bring him before the king.
and Teague was dragged along by dozens of hands to the throne where the king sat.
What is this all about? Who is this man?
He was stealing food. He was robbing the king's jewels. He looks evil. He should be punished. Aye, put him away from us. He's no good.
Well, man, what have you to say for yourself? Are you stealing from the poor on this holy night of all nights?
Teague's legs took to trembling, and fear put the leash on his tongue. But after a long silence, he managed to whisper an answer.
Hey, I've done evil to no one. No one. I tell you, Your Majesty. Maybe, but have you done good? Come, tell us, have you given aught to anyone this night? If ye have, we will pardon you.
Not a word could Teague say. Fear tightened the leash on his tongue, for he was knowing full well that he had done no good to anyone except himself. Finally, he spoke.
I just wanted to keep a bit for myself this once. Keeping for oneself is not wrong, as long as you share part of what you have in Christ's name. So, to the dungeons with you for a few nights, and perhaps to a work farm for you after that. Off with you now. Oh, thank you, Your Majesty, for a merciful sentence. But will you grant me just one small request this Christmas Eve night before I go to do my time. It's a very small one, and it would do my soul good. Perhaps. Let's hear it. Oh, thank you, Your Majesty. There's a wee red cap that I'm terribly fond of, and I lost it here a short while ago. I'd be grateful if I could have it back to keep my head warm in the dungeons. Find the cap and bring it here.
Bring him the red cap.
The cap was found and brought to Teague, and no sooner was it in his hands and on his head than he spoke those magic words.
Oh, clip, clap, clip, clap for me wee red cap. I wish I was home.
Up and over the heads of the dumbfounded guards and all the others in the palace he flew, and whisked away he was out of sight. Teague closed his eyes as he flew, and when he opened them, he was once again by his own hearth, with the fire burnt low. The hands on the clock were still, the bolt fixed once again on the door. The lights of the wee folk were gone, and the only bright thing was the candle burning across the road in old Barney's cabin. Teague sat quiet for a minute, grateful to be back home by his own hearth. Suddenly, the running of little feet sounded outside, and then a snatch of a song.
Feed ye the hungry and rest ye the weary. This ye must do for the sake of our marriage. Will that ye mind ye who sit by the fire, that the Christ child was born in a dark hole gone by. Weary and strong.
Oh, wait there, whoever ye are.
And Teague was away to the corner, digging fast at the loose clay, as a terrier digs at a bone. He filled his hands full of the shining gold, then hurried to the door, unbarring it. The miller's wee daughter, Cassie, stood there peering at him out of the darkness. Teague motioned her over, and he held out the gold.
Well there, lass. I have an important task for you this holy night. Can you do it? Take those to the widow Donnelly, do you hear? And take the rest to the store. You tell the shop owner's boy Jamie to bring up all that he has that is eatable and drinkable. And to all the neighbours about here you say, Teague is keeping the feast this blessed night. Come all to his cabin. Now hurry away, lass, mind your way, and God be with ye.
Teague stopped a moment on the threshold until the tramp of Cassie's feet had died away. Then he made a hollow of his two hands, and he called out across the road,
Hey there, Barney! Will you come over for a sup?